What is the new big social security reform? What are the new labor codes that have been laid out? And how it impacts all of us. India's labor landscape is under a transition, and in a landmark move, the government has implemented the labor codes. These reforms could be reshaping the hiring practices, worker protection, and all of the India's labor architecture. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and today we are going to discuss in detail the labor reform, the social security reform that has been brought in. So let us start with understanding that what has been talked about and what India's new labor market shift is in front of us. So basically the government has operationalized, that means they have already implemented the 4 labor codes which will be replacing the 29 old labor laws. And the major changes have been made in terms of fixed term employees who will get gratuities and other reforms as well. This shows a genuine intent on the government's end to modernize the whole labor regulation and also bring in flexibility as well as protection on the same term, because it is very critical for the sectors which are switching towards models where they only need short project cycle, be it manufacturing, textile, IT and gig-linked services. So now let us start to understand that what changes have been brought in and which are the big ones, so that we all know that what is changing. So the first big change is in terms of gratuity. The earlier rules said that you need to work minimum of 5 years continuous service except for death or disablement to get the gratuity, and it was as per Payment of Gratuity Act of 1972. Now this has been under a new labor code rule, that is from the Social Security Code of 2020. The fixed term employees, that means if you are engaged on contractual basis as well, that means after just 1 year of continuous service, you are eligible for gratuity. And gratuity here is pro rata. What is pro rata? That you will be paid even if employment ends because of the contract expiry. Maybe you had the contract only for 1 year, you gave 1 year of continuous service, and that's when your gratuity will be applicable. Furthermore, the FTEs, that means fixed term employees, will receive benefits absolutely on the level of permanent employees. That means the flexibility of working on contractual basis will also get you social security benefits such as gratuity. Now the government has clearly explained that why this has been brought in, so that there is correction of mismatch that exists between shorter job tenures and the permanent jobs that we get to see. And they have given also a proper economic rationale that the labor market is changing and we need to realign with this, because India's labor market, if you get to see, it is getting increasingly moving towards contractual or project based or gig based work. So average tenure in many sectors is somewhere around 10 to 18 months. That's almost a year or more than that. And that is why there was an absolute mismatch when we are talking about 5-year gratuity rule. Now this has been addressed through the given change. Other than that, the dualism that was existing, that has been corrected. So when we talk about permanent workers who were getting protected, they were getting social security benefits, but contractual workers, even though they were getting the flexibility, they remained vulnerable. Now this dualism has been put right. Now both of them are at parity, and this will help in formalization of labor force, because firms prefer to bring in fixed term employees, but they will prefer to make it formal hiring rather than just informal contract labor, and it will directly support India's PLI-led manufacturing push, because manufacturing sector is one of those sectors which relies on project-based and contractual-based working. Now that we have understood one major reform, let us move and understand other major reforms that have been brought in. So when I am talking about the reforms here, I am talking about the reforms that have been done under all the 4 labor codes. We have 4 labor codes. The first one, Code on Wages of 2019, Industrial Relations Code 2020, then we have Code on Social Security 2020, Then we have Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code of 2020. So all these 4 codes, some major reforms which you need to understand, we will be talking about the major changes that have been brought in. So then we have the standardized wages definition. Now, as per this, the DA, that is dearness allowance, must be more than or equal to or the 50% of total pay, and this will directly have the impact on Provident Fund, Gratuity and also ESIC. So basically the basic pay and dearness allowances have to be more than 50%. Actually what used to happen is that employers used to inflate the allowances in order to avoid the PF or to alter that. Now that wouldn't be possible, and this becomes important because it helps in avoiding any sort of salary structuring and the manipulations that come along with it. And this will also bring in uniformity, which will reduce the disputes. The second thing that has been mentioned is about national floor minimum wage that needs to be strengthened. That means the minimum floor wage that will be decided would be as per of the center, and states cannot go below the center's floor wage itself. Furthermore, another important change has been for the gig and platform workers, because this is the first time that they have been formally recognized under the Social Security framework in the Social Security Code of 2020. But important thing that you need to remember here, that gratuity is not available to them. Other than that, there have been changes such as inspector will be now inspector cum facilitator. That means there will be digital, transparent and non-adversarial compliance. That means inspectors will be responsible for guidance, and if it would be done under guidance, then lesser disputes, better facilitation will be seen. So we will get to see lesser prominence of Inspector Raj, and also there will be benefit to employers as well as workers. Then another major change has been the standing orders threshold has been increased from 100 to 300 workers. So basically factories and establishment had to bring in standing orders, that is basically service conditions, after the hiring of 100 employees. Now that has been raised to 300. That gives more flexibility to the firms in general, especially in the early growth stages. Yes, this definitely brings in ease for the employers, but this is a contentious change because this leaves small workers out and vulnerable. The next one we have is the portability of benefits. The benefits that employees are getting that can be ported via Aadhaar linked digital systems. That means there will be a proper national database of unorganized workers, and they can take their benefits along with them. They can get it ported from one organization to the other. So here we get some major changes when I'm talking about, for example, gig workers getting all the security benefits, be it health insurance, be it the cover. But the only thing missing here is gratuity. Certain changes will come with evolution, with more deliberation, more requirement and innovation will be there. But these are the major changes have been done. Now let us discuss the impacts. First, starting with the impact on workforce. So if we talk about the pros here, that means prospects, we get to see the safety net has widened for the workforce. That means more workers get more terminal benefits. It definitely helps the young demographic of India, where young mobile migrant workers can work for shorter tenure and still get the benefit. It also helps in improving the retention, because employees may stay beyond 1 year and at least for 1 year to get the gratuity benefits, and it also enhances the dignity of labor, and it is very much important for the alignment with the DPSPs, be it Article 41, 42 and 43. Now furthermore, we have talked about the positives, but it is important to understand that there are certain concerns. For example, the possible shift to 11-month contracts. When we are talking about manipulations and shortcuts and loopholes, they are present. So if there is applicability after 1 year in terms of gratuity, employers might move to 11-month contracts. Workers may receive benefits, but the whole enforcement capacity of the codes is questionable as of now. And the whole problem that is still at large is the public awareness. If we want these codes to actually materialize at the real level, then we have to make sure that the largest share of employees are aware of their right, and as of now, that's not the scenario. Now moving to another important dimension, that is understanding that what will be the impact on the other side, that is the employers and the MSMEs. So the advantage here is that fixed term employment will definitely help in reducing disputes and litigation as well. Predictable cost structure can come in at the end of employers for project-based work, and it also encourages direct hiring instead of outsourcing by contractors. But at the same time, there will be problems and challenges because there might be higher outflow due to pro rata gratuity plus 50% wage rule. So when we are talking about retention, we also have to worry about the outflow. MSMEs will have a hit because they will have to face the cost shock because they lack in terms of capital support. Other than that, the payroll compliance complexity exists and it will have difficulty. It will be difficult for the small establishment, and there is also risk of rigid implementation in states, especially with weak digital infrastructure. Other than that, it becomes important for us to also understand what will be the challenges at the level of governance as well as implementation. So the first level challenge will come with the uniformity because state level rules are existing and they vary. So this variation might delay the uniform implementation that we are expecting of the code. Other than that, digital infrastructure is a big concern. So any grievance redressal, the inspection module, they still have not formulated and there is no particular timeline at hand that we know about. Other than that, the enforcement. So there are risks related to inspection based delays because there is no fully digitalization present as of now. Direct challenge to judicial capacity because industrial tribunals, they need to be strengthened to handle the gratuity disputes because now the threshold has decreased and disputes might increase in this scenario. Furthermore, worker awareness is a huge challenge because without proper public campaigns, this rule, this reform merely remains one on paper, not in ground level. Now on this note, I will be concluding that these reforms are welcome, they are step in the right direction. However, the success of it depends on so many things, be it the enforcement quality, the MSMEs, their implementation, and also preventing the threshold giving. It is a move which is modern, inclusive, and also formalizes the labor ecosystem, which is very much needed. So that's all for today. I'll be leaving you with a practice question here. You can put down the answers in the comment section. Now the answer of yesterday's question, the correct answer here is A. That was all for today. Thank you so much.